I declare open this ceremony for the award of the honorary degree of Doctor of Letters.
Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Tan Eng Chai, President of the National University of Singapore, will now deliver his speech.
Madam Halimah Yacob, President of the Republic of Singapore and NUS Chancellor, NUS Pro-Chancellors, Mr. Puat Mata and Mr. Gautam Banerjee, NUS Chairman, distinguished honorary graduate, ladies and gentlemen. Over the course of a long and remarkable life and career, Dr. Oon Chiew Seng has taken on many diverse and challenging roles. She has been variously a pioneering medical practitioner, a social activist, a community leader, and a philanthropist. In each of these roles, she brought her trademark forthrightness, determination, and generous spirit of compassion. Through her endeavors, Dr. Oon has created immense social impact, and her work and dedication have benefited a broad spectrum of Singapore society. She is an inspiration and a role model, not only for her dedicated community service, but also in her refreshingly zestful approach to living a full, rich, and engaged life. 2021 has just begun, but 2020 will long live in our collective memory for its unprecedented upheavals due to the global pandemic of COVID-19. In this difficult environment, I believe that graduates, present and future, will do well to emulate and develop a few key attributes that have defined Dr. Oon's life and deeds. The first is tackling challenges full on with courage, determination, and commitment. Whether setting up Singapore's first private genealogical practice or establishing the nation's first dedicated dementia care facility, Dr. Oon did not flinch from difficult circumstances or setbacks, but instead press on with firm resolve and bold action. The NUS community did not escape the impact of COVID-19, though we were fortunate to escape its worst possible effects. NUS annual commencement ceremonies were, however, disrupted due to the pandemic. This was a disappointment to many of our graduating cohort and their families. On a broader front, jobs were lost, careers disrupted, and our most recent graduates had to contend with a more challenging employment market and rapidly changing work environments. Given the deep uncertainty surrounding us, the examples of luminaries such as Dr. Oon remind us that the spirit of resilience and fortitude is absolutely essential if we are to overcome difficulties and chart new paths forward to a strong and more hopeful future. Second admirable attribute lies in Dr. Oon's dedication to serve society and those in need. She has shown that when we rally together, we can support each other through difficult times. This sense of solidarity and service to community is deeply embedded in NUS ethos. For example, during the height of COVID-19, the NUS community was galvanized, and we were able to launch, within a short time frame, the NUS Resilience and Growth Initiative, which is a comprehensive suite of services spanning financial aid, employment, innovation, and lifelong learning opportunities to help future-proof our students and graduates. A final admirable attribute of Dr. Oon has been her generosity in giving back. This can take many forms, and for Dr. Oon, this has encompassed developing into a philanthropist of foresight and vision, and a strong supporter of science, research, and education. In 2011, Dr. Oon established the Oon Chiew Seng Fellowship in Medicine, which was subsequently converted to the Oon Chiew Seng Professorship in Medicine. In the same year, Dr. Oon also made a contribution to allow the university to start the Oon Chiew Seng Distinguished Visitor Program, which brought leading academics to NUS. This included Professor John O'Keefe, who won the Nobel Prize a year after his visit to NUS as the Oon Distinguished Visitor. Collectively, these programs have and will continue to contribute to NUS and Singapore as we advance our understanding and treatment of brain disease and dementia-related fields. In 2020, NUS celebrated its 115th anniversary. By any reasonable expectation, the pandemic should have significantly diminished our sense of celebration and pride. However, we chose instead to take inspiration from trailblazers such as Dr. Oon and turn the disruptions caused by COVID-19 into opportunity by boldly mapping out new directions for the university. One recent announcement was the College of Humanities and Sciences, which will help our students prepare for an ever more complex world by integrating interdisciplinary learning and development of a greater range of competencies across disciplines. Over the course of her life, Dr. Oon has been justly recognized with many honors and awards, both globally and nationally. On our part, the National University of Singapore is proud of Dr. Oon Chiew Seng's lifetime of remarkable achievements and tireless service to the community. She is one of our most distinguished alumna, and we are truly honored to have the opportunity to confer upon her the honorary degree of Doctor of Letters. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the public orator, Professor Chong Yap Sing, Lien Ying Chow Professor in Medicine, and Dean, Yong Lulin School of Medicine, will deliver the citation on the honorary graduate, Dr. Oon Chiew Seng.
Dr. Oon Chiew Seng. Madam Halimah Yacob, President of the Republic of Singapore and NUS Chancellor, NUS Pro-Chancellors, NUS Chairman, NUS President, distinguished honorary graduate, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today, we have the immensely pleasurable task of honoring one of our own, a distinguished alumna who through her life and work exemplifies the values of compassion and public service that the NUS Medical School aims to imbue in every one of our graduates. Dr. Oon Chiew Seng is well known as one of Singapore's earliest obstetrics and gynecology practitioners and a compassionate champion of underserved communities. From opening a clinic to cater to women who, she observed, felt more comfortable when female obstetricians and gynecologists examined them, to volunteering at a home for the aged sick, to establishing a home for dementia patients, Dr. Oon has made service to the community her life's theme. She embarked on medical studies at the King Edward VII Medical College mere months before World War II engulfed Singapore. The years of hardship that followed as she doggedly pursued her studies upon being evacuated to India forged a steely, unwavering determination that has come to define her approach to life. Born in 1916 in Penang to a businessman father and a housewife, Dr. Oon is the youngest of 10 children. She discovered her passion for healing and caring for the sick and vulnerable when she became a nurse at the Penang General Hospital in the 1930s. She spent 2 years in nursing before sitting for the Senior Cambridge Certificate in 1940. Upon her older brother's insistence that being a doctor held better prospects, she switched to studying medicine with their support. As a medical student in Singapore, Dr. Oon had to contend with loneliness, being away from her loved ones. She also had to endure the terrors of World War II before finally graduating in 1948. In 1953, she was awarded a Queen's Fellowship and went to the United Kingdom for specialist training in obstetrics and gynecology. She qualified as a member of the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists in 1955, one of the first women in the region to do so. She returned to Singapore to work at Kandang Kebal Hospital under Professor Benjamin Shears, who later became Singapore's second president. In 1959, Dr. Oon left KK Hospital to become the first obstetrician and gynecologist in the private sector. She grew her medical practice into one of the most successful obstetrics and gynecology groups in Singapore, only retiring in 1991 at the age of 75. She has delivered countless numbers of babies and along the way touched the lives of many Singaporeans. I understand that there were times when she performed up to 10 cesarean sections a day at KK Hospital. Dr. Oon has served in a number of key roles, being president of Singapore's Obstetrics and Gynecology Society for several years, as well as a member of the Singapore's Family and Population Board. Setting up the Apex Harmony Lodge, the first nursing home for dementia residents in Singapore, in 1999 was Dr. Oon's next professional pursuit.
Already in her 80s, she was heavily involved not only in the procurement of funding for its establishment, but also pioneered a new care concept for Alzheimer's patients here in Singapore after studying elder care homes around the world. Dr. Oon was actively involved in the running of the lodge until 2012, when she was well into her 90s. Her desire to raise awareness about dementia and support caregivers led her to contribute millions of dollars to fund research in women's health, anti-aging science, and dementia at NUS Medicine. Her contributions have enabled important findings in these fields, leading to better understanding and insight into aging for Singapore's academics and doctors. Dr. Oon has received numerous clinical and humanitarian accolades in her lifetime. She is an honorary fellow of the Asia and Oceania Federation of Obstetrics and Gynecology, and is the second of only 3 Singaporeans to be made an honorary fellow of the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists in recognition of her dedication to nurturing generations of obstetricians and gynecologists in Singapore and the ASEAN region. She was conferred the Public Service Medal in the year 2000 and the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Ministry of Health in 2011 for her services to the elderly. Later in 2013, Dr. Oon received the prestigious Public Service Star and the President's Special Recognition Award for Volunteerism and Philanthropy. In 2014, Dr. Oon was inducted into the Singapore Women's Hall of Fame. At 104 years old today, Dr. Oon doesn't seem to have let up, going on walks and playing mahjong a few times a week, an activity she strongly advocates to keep the mind active. Dr. Oon is a shining example to us in so many ways. Her spirit and vigor at the age of 104 is a testament that age alone should not sideline us. Her life of service to the elderly and underserved communities in Singapore show us how one person with conviction can make a difference. Her entrepreneurial spirit and success in her medical career makes the case that gender is no barrier to achievement. Dr. Oon, through her life and work, exemplifies the best values and character of NUS Medicine. For her selfless dedication and passionate servant leadership that has continued to impact lives and communities, it gives the NUS Yong School of Medicine great pride to honor one of our best and brightest lights. It is recognition that may be a bit late in coming, but it is one that the school takes tremendous pleasure in proclaiming today. Madam Chancellor, may it please you to confer upon Dr. Oon Chiew Seng the honorary degree of Doctor of Letters. Thank you.
By virtue of the authority vested in me, I confer upon Dr. Oon Chiew Seng the honorary degree of Doctor of Letters.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Oon Chong Hao will now deliver a speech on behalf of Dr. Oon Chiew Seng.
Madam Halimah Yacob, President of the Republic of Singapore, and NUS Chancellor, NUS Pro-Chancellors, Mr. Sia Fu Hua, Chairman, NUS Board of Trustees, Professor Tan Eng Chai, NUS President, the great class of 2020, ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to receive this distinction in recognition of my life's work and of my contribution to society and nation building for the last 75 years. When I proudly informed my friends and relatives about the award, they remarked, well, better late than never. We are in the midst of challenging times and great uncertainty in the coming months and years. But I can assure you, we will overcome at the personal as well as at the national level. To quote Benjamin Disraeli, there is no education like adversity. To the great class of 2020, you have been given a singular opportunity to put your knowledge and skills to work in the service of the global community, which is facing the biggest crisis of your generation. It is the best time to graduate. Many generations ago, I too matriculated at a time of great uncertainty. Like you, my education was disrupted, not by pandemic, but by war. Let me share some aspects of my story to hopefully encourage you to persevere in your journey through grit, resilience, integrity, and purpose. The mnemonic spells grip. Whenever you are in a panic mode, remember, get a grip of yourself. 80 years, easily a lifetime ago, I was accepted into King Edward VII Medical College. 6 months into my program, Singapore was bombed on December the 8th, 1941, which heralded the start of World War II in Singapore. In February 1942, the female members and children of the Oon family clan were evacuated by ship, bound for Australia. However, due to heavy bombardments, the vessel was forced to change course several times, and I eventually made it to Bombay, now Mumbai. My family in Singapore had heard on the radio that the ship had sunk, resulting in great distress and anguish. In Bombay, 4 families with their 16 children shared one flat. I was assigned the storeroom with another family member. Rain and moisture constantly leaked through the roof and walls, but luckily, even now, I do not suffer from rheumatism. On the ship and in Bombay, I did not let up on my study. The extremely difficult circumstances did not deter me. I also volunteered at the local hospital, continued self-learning, and took even more exams. I was accepted by Lady Hardinge Medical College for Women in New Delhi in 1943. There I began my 3-year attendance, requiring an arduous and lonely 3-day train ride to New Delhi and 1 annual journey home to Bombay to see my family. The end of the war came with a new beginning and a silver lining with my return to Singapore in 1946. I had now progressed ahead 3 years. My exams taken in India were recognized, and the principal of King Edward College said all I needed to do was the postings and to help him set up the ladies' hostel. In those days, it was called Home Chase at Grange Road. You see, I was already multitasking. So, dear graduates, there is opportunity even in the darkest times. Setbacks are part of life, and if you seize the opportunity, it will make you stronger. I started my career in nursing at the age of 21. I was working at the Penang General Hospital. It was tough but fulfilling work. I worked overtime during a typhoid epidemic. I wanted to do more, which meant that I had to acquire more knowledge and skills. With my family's encouragement, I decided to give medicine a try, but I did not want to quit my nursing job as the path ahead was still unclear. Remember, this was 1937, and in many families at that time, girls were not encouraged to pursue higher studies, and gender discrimination was rampant. The first obstacle was to seek approval from the matron and chief medical officer, which had never been previously granted. And the second obstacle was to pass the senior Cambridge exams, which included Latin. Fortunately, following the approval, I took 6 months no-pay leave to prepare for the exams and passed. Upon graduation from King Edward College in 1948, I was posted to various government hospitals and proceeded to complete my specialist MRCOG in 1955 on a Queen's Fellowship. I worked at KK Hospital at the peak of the population boom, and I am proud to have brought many baby boomers into the world. I began to realize that women were more comfortable seeing female O&G specialists, and there was an underserved, socially disadvantaged community who preferred the privacy of a private sector evaluation. So I decided to leave the safety net of the public sector and opened a small clinic at Armenian Street. It was a risky transition in deeply uncertain times. Being the first private sector O&G specialist, there was no support from other specialists, no private hospital to admit deliveries, and I had to set up my own antenatal facilities. My anesthesia backup came from a British Army doctor who had to promptly return to camp after each delivery. It was a harrowing time, as I had to manage any complications arising alone. From a solo practice for many years, I later formed an O&G partnership at the new Mount Elizabeth Hospital in 1978. I retired from obstetrics and gynecology in 1991 at the ripe young age of 75. I yearned to travel while I still had the energy. I did not travel much while running my practice. However, travel and mahjong could not fill all my time. Since I had already been volunteering at Sri Narayana Mission Home for the Aged Sick for several years, I noticed again an underserved community. People with dementia in Singapore were admitted to mental hospitals. Not only were they stigmatized, but they were not getting the best care and treatment. After that, I traveled to visit dementia homes and centers in Australia and other countries. I attended many courses and conferences to equip myself with new knowledge and skills. You see, I embraced lifelong learning before it became popular or necessary. With the help of building professionals, I worked on developing the first Alzheimer home in Singapore, Apex Harmony Lodge at Pasir Ris, which was completed in 1999. I was its founding chairman until 2012. I'm grateful for the support of my siblings, mentors, and friends throughout my journey, in particular, forged during university days. In particular, friendships forged during university days are lifelong and durable. We looked out for one another. It was probably a less competitive environment in my time. It has given form to my philosophy of treating all my patients, paying and non-paying, with the same standard of care irrespective of social background. My gratification was bringing about successful pregnancies and witnessing the happiness of growing families. It gives me tremendous satisfaction to see the little bundles of joy grow up to be healthy, successful, and some becoming prominent adults. Strangers have approached me to thank me for my service. Some became close friends and helped me raise funds for charitable causes and dementia care. Others joined me in my favorite brain exercise. It's called mahjong therapy. In the earlier years, they would introduce their children. In these days, the wonderful beings whom I delivered are the ones who would come up to me. Recently, I patronized a restaurant for the first time. The middle-aged restaurant owner overheard my name and gave me a free makan for having delivered her. Her mother must have told her. Dear graduates, stay true to your intrinsic motivation, serve honorably, and contribute positively to your community. Do your work well, and the rewards will come sooner or later. Rewards and recognition are not goals that we should seek or expect. Congratulations to the great class of 2020. Stay safe and seek to be greater. Thank you.
I declare this ceremony closed.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the national anthem. Congratulations, Dr. Oon Chiew Seng. Ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the end of today's ceremony, please remain seated until the procession exits the hall.